Namaskar to all, and today we are going to discuss about the genesis of fatigue. Okay, so it should be discussed under the following headings: principle, apparatus, reagents, procedure, result, inference, precautions, discussion. But it will be a very short discussion. Okay, in short, the principle says that if a muscle is stimulated repeatedly by the application of adequate stimuli, either through its nerve or directly, there is a progressive diminution in the mechanical response of the muscle, and ultimately it ceases to respond. When this has occurred, fatigue is said to have set in. So, simply when we stimulate the nerve muscle preparation by stimulating the sciatic nerve repeatedly, then ultimately what happens? The response diminishes, and at the time we get a very feeble response. And at that time, it is said to have the fatigue has occurred. Okay. So, regarding this, now the principle we have discussed very shortly, apparatus and reagent. Like every curve, we need a nerve muscle preparation. Okay, we need the other apparatus for such as for simple muscle curves, such as we need drum kymograph, we need a tap key, we need myograph stand, myograph board, pins, and other things. And also for reagent, Ringer's solution or amphibian Ringer's solution we need. Okay, now without any further ado, let's start with the procedure. So the procedure is that we have to arrange the different electrical equipments, okay, in their respective way. We have to arrange the nerve muscle preparation as we have arranged in during recording a simple muscle uh, curve, okay, or a simple muscle twitch. Now, what is that we will discuss, okay? So, we will at first record a baseline, okay? Suppose it's a procedure, we will record a baseline. Then what happens is that there should be a point of stimulation. So suppose this is a point of stimulation, okay? Now after setting up the apparatus and circuit, okay, we have to prepare the baseline as well as we will at a certain point, suppose at this point we will apply the contraction, that is with the help of the electrodes we will stimulate the sciatic nerve, okay, the nerve, not the muscle, the sciatic nerve, okay. The electrodes are placed on the sciatic nerve, and then when we stimulate, then on a drum kymograph we will get a curve like this, something like this, okay. So we will designate it as curve number 1. Then after that, by keeping the point of stimulation same, we'll again apply the stimulation, okay. Now we will see that it is something like this, okay. We will say it as 2. Again for a third time we will stimulate and we will see that it has increased and it will be like this is the third stimulation, okay. So that is, we will repeatedly stimulate the nerve and record the first, second and third contractions on a fast moving drum. The drum should move at a speed of 640 millimeter per second, okay, by keeping the point of stimulation same. Now in the next phase we'll stop the drum and we will mark the point of stimulation, okay. We will mark the point of stimulation, okay. Now by keeping the point of stimulation same and move the writing point away from the drum, we'll allow the drum to rotate and stimulate the nerve repeatedly by keeping the tab key pressed so that the preparation may be stimulated once during each rotation, okay. So this is the third one, okay. Now fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9 will stimulate the nerve, but we will not record it. Now for the 10th one, what we do is that we will again reapply the writing point to the drum and then we will stimulate it. We will stimulate the nerve, okay. Then we'll see that it should give a curve like this, okay, like this. 10th, this is the 10th one. Now again 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 we will not stimulate it, okay. That is, we will record only the every 10th contraction. So we will record every 10th contraction by applying the writing lever to the drum. Okay, and this should be done till the muscle contractions are too weak to be recorded. This only 10th, this repeated 10th contractions are taken to prevent the overlap of responses. So this is the 10th. Now suppose this was the 20th stimulation. So 20th, this is the 20th. Suppose again, suppose this is the 30. This is the 40th. Okay, this is the 50th. 60th. This is the 70th. Okay, so at 70th we have seen that the muscle contractions have become too weak to be recorded. Okay, now what will we do is that we had previously placed a electrode on the sciatic nerve. Now we will remove the electrode from the sciatic nerve, and then we will place the stimulating electrodes directly on the muscle and record the response, keeping the baseline same. Suppose this was the nerve muscle preparation. Okay, previously we kept the electrode okay, on the nerve. Now we will remove it, and then we will place the electrode directly over the muscle. Okay, now what will we see is that, so we will place the stimulating electrode directly on the muscle and record the response, keeping the baseline same. So this was the baseline, right? We will take another clean portion of the drum. We'll keep the baseline same. Okay, and we will now again stimulate this. Now we will stimulate this muscle directly, and when we have stimulated, suppose this is the point of stimulation, we will see that we have got a good contraction. Okay, something like this. Okay, this one. Now after that we will give rest to the nerve muscle preparation for around 5 minutes. Suppose this is the nerve muscle preparation, we will give rest to the nerve muscle preparation for around 5 minutes. Okay, and during these 5 minutes, during this time, we will keep pouring fresh Ringer's solution. Okay, we will pour Ringer's solution, okay, in this nerve muscle preparation. We'll keep it in the fresh Ringer's solution and we'll pour it. Okay, now after 5 minutes gap, okay, we will take the same baseline, no space here, suppose this is the same baseline. Okay, and then we have, after changing the point of stimulus on the same baseline, we will stimulate the nerve and we will record the recovery of the muscle. Suppose we have stimulated at this point. Now we will again see that the nerve, a good nerve muscle has been there. Okay, contraction. We know that this is the latent phase, this is the contraction phase, this is the relaxation phase. Okay, so yes, contraction phase, relaxation phase, relaxation phase, contraction phase. These are some physiological curves. Okay, anyways, so what have we, so our procedure is completed. Okay, so on the results, what will you see in the results? So the height of the curves, and the duration of their latent contraction and relaxation periods are measured. Also, the duration of various periods of response of the muscle on direct stimulation is calculated. So about the inference now, inference or observations. Sorry. So Inference, what we have seen? We have seen that we have observed the change in amplitude or height as well as duration of the various phases of the first three contractions and the following contractions. So we saw that for the first few contraction there was increase in amplitude. Okay, so this is 1, this was 2, this is 3. So 1 first, so okay, so 1, 2 and 3, we saw that there is a definite increase in the amplitude. Okay, in the amplitude, and this is due to the beneficial effect. Okay, so beneficial effect occurs as the second stimulus gets benefited by the changes produced in the muscle due to the first stimulus. The important reasons underlying it are, that is, the reasons for which beneficial effect occur are more calcium ion released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, and also there occurs increase in temperature of the muscle, also decrease in internal viscosity and resistance of the muscle, and lastly decrease in inertia of the recording system. For these points there occurs a beneficial effect. Now with the subsequent stimulation, this with the 10th, 20th, 30th, my curve went up to the 70th stimulation. So with the subsequent stimulation, okay, it was seen that there was a progressive increase in the latent period as well as in the contraction period as well as in the relaxation period, but also there was a decrease in the amplitude or height. Okay, decrease in the amplitude or height and increase in latent period, contraction period, relaxation period. Okay, so as stimulation is continued, there is a progressive increase in latent period, basically, and also relaxation period and contraction period, and a decrease in amplitude. Okay, the rise of tension is slower and relaxation is more gradual and incomplete. Finally, the muscle fails to contract altogether and the lever does not return to the baseline. So we saw that, say for the 70th one and this. So this I will use a different color paint. This was the 70th one. Okay, I will retrace it. So we have seen that it didn't touch the baseline. Okay, so the relaxation was incomplete. Okay, so the relaxation was incomplete and the lever does not return to the baseline. That is, the muscle remains in a state of partial contraction, and it is now called as contraction reminder. Okay, it is called as contraction reminder. It is important. Okay, now the thing is this contraction reminder, what is it? So the contraction reminder, that is the baseline rises due to an incomplete relaxation of the muscle following the depletion of ATP, as a result of which the writing point does not come down to its original position. The writing point has not come down to its original position. Okay, this so the baseline should have been the original position. So this is called as contraction reminder. Okay, now again, after the muscle undergoes fatigue through stimulation of its nerve, it responds briskly to direct stimulation. Okay, and also after a variable period, the muscle responds once again to stimulation of its nerve. Okay, so this curve, that was with the direct stimulation of the muscle, we saw that even though here we got fatigue, but still on the direct stimulation it was a good response of the muscle. Okay, and after that, this curve was taken after giving 5 minutes rest to the preparation, as well as we poured Ringer's solution to it. Then again it gave a good curve. Okay, so after the muscle undergoes fatigue through stimulation of its nerve, it responds briskly to direct stimulation. Also, after a variable period, the muscle responds once again to stimulation of its nerve. Okay. So these are the things. Now, one thing I would like to tell you that suppose if we continue the direct stimulation on the nerve, then what happens? The glycogen of the nerve, the glycogen stores gets decreased, and then the fatigue that sits in the muscle will be like a permanent one. Okay, that is, it will not be a reversible one in this pressure. Okay. So now about some precautions. So precautions, the point of stimulus and the baseline should remain unchanged for recording the fatigue curve. Also, for recording the effect of direct stimulation on the muscle, the baseline should remain the same, but the point of stimulus should be changed. And lastly, the rest the preparation for 5 minutes and keep pouring fresh ringer solution in order to record the response of the muscle after recovery. And also there are some other precautions which are same as simple muscle curve. Okay. Now lastly, a few points regarding discussion. So what is the physiological significance? So the site of fatigue, the only 3 possible sites are the nerve. Okay, that is the nerve. It might be a site of fatigue. This is the muscle. Okay, so the neuromuscular junction, it can be a site of fatigue. And lastly, okay, the muscle fibers themselves. Okay, muscle fibers themselves. But the fact that the nerve is practically infatigable and that direct stimulation of muscle causes contraction. Okay, causes contraction. So it indicates by exclusion sorry, that the neuromuscular junction is the seat of fatigue. Okay, so the neuromuscular junction is the seat of fatigue in this nerve muscle preparation which has no blood supply. Okay, now what might be the causes of fatigue? The causes of fatigue are is depletion of, that is, depletion of acetylcholine. Causes of fatigue, depletion of acetylcholine, okay, from the motor system endings for the neuromuscular junction, and also accumulation of substances, metabolites such as lactic acid, pyruvates, and other ATP breakdown products. Okay, so this thing leads to the formation of fatigue. Okay, so this thing will ultimately lead to fatigue. Now what is fatigue? Fatigue is a temporary reduction of the working capacity of cell, okay, of a cell, an organ, or an organism as a whole, resulting from prolonged exertion. It is a reversible phenomenon and it passes off after rest. Now about this nerve muscle preparation, also we can show that the nerve is not subjected to fatigue by the following experiment. Okay, that is, suppose we have made 2 nerve muscle preparation. This is a one nerve muscle preparation. There is another nerve muscle preparation. Okay, and we have connected the nerves. Okay, suppose this blue color is the nerve of the fresh nerve muscle preparation. This was the old, that is the old nerve muscle preparation. Now we have made the nerve into one. Okay, now we have contacted nerve of the fatigue preparation. Now, even though after stimulation the previous one was should to be fatigued, but when we stimulate the nerve again, then it showed that this nerve muscle preparation, it shows a good curve. Okay, that is, it can be shown that the nerve is not the site of fatigue by bringing the nerve of a fresh preparation, the nerve of a fresh preparation, okay, in contact with the nerve of the fatigue preparation, contact with the nerve of a fatigued preparation. Okay, so the second muscle responds to every induction shock, while the first one does not. The first nerve merely acting as an electrical conductor. Recording of action potentials from the first nerve can also show that it is not the seat of fatigue. Okay. Thus, this when this first one was recorded, okay, ultimately it gave to fatigue. But when we stimulate the same nerve, but this time when we contacted the nerve of a freshly prepared preparation, then we saw that it gave a good curve. Okay, but if we have stimulated the old nerve only, but which was connected to the new nerve, so it is seen that the site of fatigue is not this nerve. Okay, so the site of fatigue is not the muscles also. So the site of fatigue should be this neuromuscular junctions. Okay. Okay. So these things are important. Now, what is the site of fatigue in man? The site of fatigue in man, it is the synapse in the brain. Okay. Now there's certain things that I will say. What are the causes of recovery from fatigue? Okay, causes of recovery from fatigue. What can be these causes of recovery from fatigue? What can be this? This can be, that is, removal, number one, removal of waste products. Number one, then we supply of nutrition. Here we supplied Ringer's lactate. Okay. Then number three, resynthesis of acetylcholine also helps here. Okay. Now sorry. Now lastly, I have already told you that the site of fatigue, the first site of fatigue in human being is the synapse in the brain. Okay. Now this fatigue is studied. It can be studied with the help of Mossos graph. So with this I will like to finish it. Okay. I have tried to make you understand the genesis of fatigue in a very brief way. Sorry, I don't have access to instruments right now, so I could only show you in different diagrams. Okay, and so thank you and see you again. So bye.